So today I thought I'd share a sutta that I read maybe about a dozen years ago. And I just was reading about it in some book I was reading, so I went back to read it again and wanted to share it. I think because it was so different, and it just was one that really struck me. This is part of the middle length discourses from the Pali Canon, and you're reading along in this book and they're all very kind of different, but this one was way different. And I was like, what is that about? And it always stayed with me. It's very short, but it's really something to think about. And it's called the Anthill. And here we have anthills, so it's actually a little more graphic to me now than it was, because I don't know if I'd ever seen one before. And it's number 23, Vamika Sutta. Thus I have heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Sravasti in Jeta's grove, Anantapindika's park. Now on that occasion the Venerable Kumara Kassapa was living in the blind men's grove. And then when the night was well advanced, a certain deity of beautiful appearance, who illuminated the whole of the blind men's grove, approached the Venerable Kumara Kassapa and stood at one side. And it turns out that these were beings that knew each other from a way past time, during the time of the Buddha Kassapa, and they were meditating buddies. So standing on the side, the deity said to him, "Bhikkhu, bhikkhu, this anthill fumes by night and flames by day." Yeah, that's a good question. What kind of anthill is that? Well, the symbolism gets explained later. In fact, it goes through quite a bit before it explains it. So here's what's next. Thus spoke the Brahman, "Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a bar. "A bar, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the bar. Delve with the knife, O wise one, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a toad. "A toad, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the toad. Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a fork. "A fork, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the fork. Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a sieve. "A sieve, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the sieve. Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a tortoise. "A tortoise, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the tortoise. Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a butcher's knife and block. A butcher's knife and block, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the butcher's knife and block. Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a piece of meat. "A piece of meat, O venerable sir." Are you wondering what this is all about? So was I. Thus spoke the Brahman, "Throw out the piece of meat. Delve with the knife, thou wise one." Delving with the knife, the wise one saw a naga serpent. A naga serpent. You know, nagas, serpent-like beings. "A naga serpent, O venerable sir." Thus spoke the Brahman, "Leave the naga serpent. Do not harm the naga serpent. Honor the naga serpent. Bhikkhu, you should go to the Blessed One," which is the Buddha, "and ask him about this riddle. As the Blessed One tells you, so should you remember it. Bhikkhu, other than the Tathagata, or a disciple of the Tathagata, or one who has learned it from them, I see no one in this world with its gods, its maras, and its brahmas, in this generation with its recluses and brahmins, its princes and its people, whose explanation of this riddle might satisfy the mind." So are you wondering? I think he sets it up. I think it's set up pretty well myself. So this is what was said by the deity, who thereupon vanished at once. Okay. Then the night was over. The Venerable Kumara Kassapa went to the Blessed One, the Buddha. After paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and told the Blessed One what had occurred. Then he asked, "Venerable Sir, what is the anthill? What the fuming by night? What the flaming by day? Who is the Brahman? Who is the wise one? What is the knife, the delving? What the bar? What the toad? What the fork? What the sieve? What the tortoise? What the butcher's knife and block? What the piece of meat? What the naga serpent?" So here comes our practice. because you'll see. Bhikkhu, the anthill is a symbol for this body, made out of material form, consisting of the four great elements, procreated by a mother and father, built up out of boiled rice and porridge, and subject to impermanence, to being worn and rubbed away, to dissolution and disintegration. So porridge and things, boiled rice and things like that, they spoil quickly. And so you think of the anthill as your body. Actually, anthills, do they seem very permanent? I don't know. To me, they seem kind of like they move around here. I see them one year, and I don't always see them the next year in the same place, or else I just can't find them again. What one thinks and ponders by night, based upon one's actions during the day, is fuming by night. That's true. Let's read that again. This is for us to learn. Actually, the bhikkhu gained realizations by pondering this sutta. What one thinks and ponders by night, based upon one's actions during the day, is fuming by night. That's probably what interests me in this sutta. The mind that, can't shut itself off because of the day. The actions one undertakes during the day, by body, speech, and mind, after thinking and pondering by night, is the flaming by day. That fits too. Sometimes we are a little bit flaming during the day with our actions of body, speech, and mind. The Brahman is the symbol for the Tathagata, accomplished and fully enlightened. The wise one is a symbol for a bhikkhu in the higher training, or a monastic. The knife is a symbol for noble wisdom, and the delving is a symbol for arousing of energy. So that's kind of telling us every time it was delve with the knife, and the knife is wisdom, and the action of doing it takes energy. The bar is the symbol for ignorance. Throw out the bar, abandon ignorance. Delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. And they give this commentary that just as a bar across the entrance to a city prevents people from entering it, which is, like you have a gate to stop people from going someplace, in the same way, ignorance prevents people from attaining nirvana. The toad is a symbol for anger and irritation. Throw out the toad, abandon anger and irritation. Delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. The fork is a symbol for doubt, which is just the same as in our tradition. We have this idea of trying to sew with a needle with 2 points. Same idea. Throw out the fork, abandon doubt, delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. So that's basically every time saying arouse this kind of energy that's associated with a kind of wisdom. The sieve is a symbol for the 5 hindrances, namely the hindrance of sensual desire, the hindrance of ill will, the hindrance of sloth and torpor, the hindrance of restlessness and remorse, and the hindrance of doubt. Throw out the sieve, abandon the 5 hindrances, delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. And these are the 5 hindrances that we've learned about many times that are the main, one way of categorizing the main categories of things that come up when we try to concentrate and meditate. Ill will, the word desire, sloth, things like that. The tortoise is a symbol for the 5 aggregates affected by clinging, namely the material form aggregate affected by clinging, the feeling aggregate affected by clinging, the perception aggregate affected by clinging, the formations aggregate affected by clinging, and the consciousness affected by clinging. I always like it when they say it that way, because I realize that when I think about clinging after things, I don't think about perception, clinging, and all these different aspects of the mind being affected by clinging, but it's a very common phrase. So throw out the tortoise, abandon the 5 aggregates affected by clinging, delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. In the commentary, they talk about the tortoise represents these 5 aggregates affected by clinging because the tortoise is said to have kind of 5 parts, and it has 4 legs and a head, or 4 legs and a body, something like that. The butcher's knife and block is a symbol for the 5 chords of sensual pleasure, forms cognized by the eye that are wished for, desired, agreeable, and likable, connected with sensual desire and provocative of lust, sounds cognized by the ear, odors cognized by the nose, flavors cognized by the tongue, tangibles cognized by the body that are wished for, desired, agreeable, and likable, connected with sensual desire and provocative of lust. Throw out the butcher's knife and block. Abandon the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. Delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. And that one, the reason they use the butcher's block, they say that beings that desire sensual enjoyments are chopped up by the butcher's knife. It kind of seems like my experience, because if this is the part of this that I resonate with, is like all these things that we run after. The way His Holiness says this just works so well for me. All of the kind of pleasures that we go after in this life are just small sufferings. They just haven't increased yet to the point where it's manifest. And so this is what it's trying to make us aware of, that we're going to suffer from these things. So that's quite clear if they give that kind of image of a butcher's knife and a block. And then this one is even, I don't know, I think it's a very provocative symbol. The piece of meat is a symbol for delight and lust. Throw out the piece of meat. Abandon delight and lust. Delve with the knife, thou wise one. This is the meaning. And so I think that the meaning here is actually the attachment we have to enjoyment. It's fine to have delight in things, but when we let it take over our mind, it doesn't really work. And this one has I think quite a graphic image so it's from a different sutta, and it's explained this way. Householder, suppose a vulture, a heron, or a hawk seized a piece of meat and flew away. And then vultures, herons, and hawks pursued it and pecked and clawed it. What do you think, householder? If that vulture, heron, or hawk does not quickly let go of that piece of meat, wouldn't it incur death or deadly suffering because of that? So that's kind of the idea of like when delight is fine, but when we have to hold on to things, and this is what is so suffering in our own experiences, like when we want things and we don't always get what we want, and that's just the way it works, But if we keep clinging on to these things, we're like this hawk flying with this piece of meat in our mouth and going to get attacked, and this doesn't work. So that's what the Buddha is pointing out here. And the Naga serpent, can't say that. The Naga serpent is a symbol for a monastic who has destroyed the taints. Leave the Naga serpent. Do not harm the Naga serpent. Honor the Naga serpent. This is the meaning. And this is an old kind of Indian mythology, this symbol. Nagas are a class of dragon-like beings, is how they say it. We always say it more serpent-like, I think. But I think maybe in the Chinese they might think of more as dragon-like too, I'm not sure. But in the Tibetan it's more serpent-like, and maybe in this area they use dragon-like beings. So in Indian mythology, who knows which of those it was, but they inhabit nether regions of the earth and are guardians of hidden treasures. And so it represents a gigantic or powerful creature. And so by extension, that's saying that a monastic who's become an arhat is a very powerful being. And so that's why you want to honor and not harm and leave that Naga serpent. And so that's the meaning. And this is what the Blessed One said. This is how the Buddha answered him. And Venerable Kumara Kassapa was satisfied and delighted in the Buddha's words. And from contemplating this sutta, this bhikkhu attained arhatship. It has a lot, but you don't think of it in the beginning. So, I don't know, the image has always stuck with me. So, may we think about these things during the course of our day and try to put our experiences in the kind of perspective that this teaching gives us. And then for some of us, these kind of images are, I think, quite helpful. For me, having an image like that, it just encapsulates all this at once, and the need to arouse energy and conjoin it with wisdom. So may we do that.